Hello everyone, I'm Mark Zane and welcome to Zane Investment Solutions. Please take a moment to pause this video and review the following disclaimer. Thank you for that. Welcome to week 31 of the Forex market review. Today we're going to jump to the daily FX, have a look at some upcoming news which have occurred this week and occurring for the remaining part of the week, and just have a look at a couple of trades that I'm in and the reasons why I'm in and where I'm looking at getting out for some profit or a loss, depending on which way the market travels. So firstly, we're going to start here on the daily FX. Just go to www.dailyfx.com/calendar, and then in the calendar you go and select your local GMT time, which I'm using +10 for Australian Eastern States time. And in this case, I've just clicked on the filter and I'm only filtering on US, Aussie and Canadian high and medium news, and I've chosen that because I'm looking at those three currency pairs correlating together. So I want to know what's happening with this week with those trades and where the news may affect my trades. So starting at the beginning of the week, we have generally low news coming out on Mondays, and then we had some high important news with the USD ICM manufacturing numbers coming out and the all-important Aussie Reserve Bank decision where they dropped the interest rates. It was 1.75. They forecasted to drop to 1.5, and that's what we got. So we would expect the Aussie to weaken based on those news, but because they were forecasting 1.5 and we actually got the same number, there was no surprise there. So we'll show you why on the charts. Sometimes you think a direction is going to go, but it may not. Coming up through later on the week, we've got some US non-manufacturing numbers coming out. We've also got some very important on Friday unemployment and non-farm payrolls. These numbers are definitely going to move anything to do with the US dollar. And then finally, we have some Canadian unemployment and employment change numbers. So that will move the Canadian dollar. As well as the Canadian dollar moving, that's affected by the oil. So we need to know what's happening with the oil in the markets. So we'll jump across to the charts, have a look at our first one. We're starting on the Aussie USD on a daily time frame. Here we can see the large AO, 3, down for 4, up for 5. So we're looking for our final move higher, and it should hopefully break these highs, but that's going to be a resistance point as well, where it currently is at the moment. Dropping down to a 4-hour chart, what we wanted to see before we took at any trade going long, in this case I'm looking at buying the Aussie dollar against the US dollar, I wanted to see some divergence on the lower time frames. So here I had the lower low in price, and I also had the higher AO. So that's the reason why I was looking at this is possibly going to get weaker. Then drop down to the 1-hour chart. Again, same position, lower low in price, and then the lower AO. So this one here was on the 4-hour chart, and this was also on the 4-hour chart, but we can also just extend that back. But as you can see, the price is still stepping lower as the AO is stepping lower. And so that's a good reason why we look at possibly looking for a buying opportunity. Then if we would just scroll back a little bit more on the 1-hour chart, 15-minute chart, we also see some divergence at around these levels with the lower price and the higher AO. So there's all the reasoning of me looking at why I want to get in. However, we want to know what happens with the trade at the time of entry. So here we saw the market start and step back up. It met some resistance areas, and you can look left and you can see, just go ahead and delete those indicators. We can see there was some, as it's pushing back up, some resistance around here. So that's a likely place. Its first place is probably going to find some resistance and want to push back lower. Then we saw it push back, came back to the 200 EMA line, found some support, and then right on this candle right there, that big red candle there, I'll just zoom in, that's where the interest rate decision came out. So the market opened up, it pushed down about 50 pips, on the news of the interest rates dropping from 1.75 to 1.5, and then bam, rallied straight back up. And because I saw this rally straight back up to this previous support and resistance areas and getting back above the 200 EMA line, that gave me an indication to jump in and buy this, because there's no reason, there was no good news to be pushing this back up. And obviously the market had already factored in all this move down as part of the weakness and then it just said, yep, that's fallen enough, I'm going to rally that a bit higher. And then away it went. So around those time frames, you would want to see some divergence occurring. Drop down to the 15-minute chart, and then you can see that divergence there with the lower low in price and the higher AO. So that was another good indicator to jump in, and then you just got to ride the trade. So now we're in a wave 3 scenario here. We're pulling back for wave 4. So if we go ahead and roughly draw in where roughly wave 3 is, again, we know it's end of wave 3 because come back to zero line, go back to the beginning, that's roughly where the beginning of the wave 3 is. It's pulled back to its minimum 38.2. It's starting to find some support around these levels here, support and resistance areas in that channel. So you'd be looking at taking a trade there and then pushing that back higher. How high would you want to push it? Well, again, just grab your Fibonacci Expansion tool. We can just go from the lows to the highs and then back down to the lows again. And then we just pull down and we see the first resistance is going to be in this DSR resistance area, with the second one up here, roughly where my take profit is. So I've definitely got my stop loss all the way out of the market. I might consider bringing it to break even so I don't lose any money at this stage, and then I'm going to ride it up higher, and I'm looking at getting out up at those areas here, because if you look left you can see it bouncing a few times, so that's another reason to get out. So I'm using support and resistance, Fibonacci expansion, etc. We'll go ahead and we'll jump across to the USD CAD. Very similar trade. We want to see this large AO, it's pushing back higher for wave 4. We want to see push back lower. We look down to the lower time frames. We're always looking for divergence, and here we had some minor divergence with a higher high in price and a lower AO. So that was very minor. Dropping down to the 1 hour chart, again around about the same area, we had the higher high in price, and we definitely had the lower AO on that one there. So that was divergence. We then want to see it come down. We can see this previous support is now resistance now becomes support. Bounced a few times, broke down through there, pushed back up, retested this support area, which was now resistance, hit the 200 EMA line. Good selling opportunity. Look at selling lower, put your stop losses above high, and then watch the push back lower. And it did the same thing, pushed right back down, found support again, and then rallied all the way back up. But this rally right here wasn't due to any news, it's just the oil price. The oil price fell even further, and because the Canadian dollar is affected by the oil, this made the Canadian dollar weaker and the US stronger. So all the poor US news pushed it lower, and then the oil pushed it back higher. But does that mean we're at break even? Does it mean we get out of the trade? No, we don't. We still got to treat this as a trade and using wave scenario analysis. So let's just look at that being wave 1, up for wave 2, and we're going to probably looking at pushing back down for wave 3. How far do we think this might go? Again, we can use our Fibonacci expansion tool, roughly from the highs to the lows, back up to the highs again. That's roughly where we expected it to push back lower. Now, if we see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can see this area down here being hit, and that's where my take profit is. So again, it's sort of bouncing off the 61.8. If it was to continue higher, I'd look at cancelling the trade. At this stage, I'm going to keep holding it. I'm still at break even, and it's still setting up for good wave scenario. If it breaks these highs and stays above them, then definitely that's an area of looking at getting out. And the last trade I would like to show you which I'm also in, is the US 30. So this is a stock trade, the US 30, top 30 in the US. We can see it pushing up higher. It's had some nice runs up high. On the daily chart, I could see a higher high in price with the lower AO. So that was my first indicator of it possibly turning. Drop down to the 4-hour chart. Again, I can see the higher high in price with the lower AO. So that gave me another indicator it could be falling, and drop down to the 1-hour chart. And again, higher high in price with a lower AO. So that's where I was looking at making a possible turn. But before I entered that market, let me just go ahead and delete some of these indicators to make them a bit more clearer for you. You got to wait for your support. So it's pushing up, it's finding support. You got to break the support, retested it again, broke it again, and then came back for a third time. That's my selling opportunity. Retested it 3 times. So hitting the support area, hitting the 200 EMA, sold the market. Okay, it's pushed that little bit back higher, and then bang, it's fallen down. So that's what we want to look for. We never just sell just because we see divergence. We have to wait for support to be broken and then retest and then enter the market. Here we can see the large move down the bottom. So let's just assume that's wave 3. So probably got wave 1 starting up here. Push back down for wave 2. Or wave 1 all the way down here. Wave 2 is that push back up there. Can come all the way up to around 61.8 where I got in. But it just can't really break those highs. It never broke those highs, which is perfect. That's why we always have our stop losses above those recent highs. This is wave 3. We see the large AO until it comes back to zero line. We don't know that's ended. But if we were to assume it's ended around about here, we expect it to come back, retest somewhere around this support area, which is now resistance. You can see it's bouncing a few times, and then it's pushed back lower again. And how far could it go? Well, again, using Fibonacci Expansion tool, if we just assume this is the lowest point and it's coming back up to these highs, we then expect it to come back to around the 61.8 or 100% mark. And I've got mine roughly in between those 2 points. So that's where I'm looking at getting out. I'm also looking at getting out there because it matches up with this horizontal support area. So there's the reasoning why I'm looking at exiting a trade at those levels. All 3 trades are in the money at the moment. 2 of them doing very well. Unfortunately, oil affected one of them. But if the oil finds support where it is now and pushes back higher, then we definitely could be on a winner on all 3 trades. And this will be a very great result for the beginning of August. So thank you for that. That was week 31 of the Forex market review. So 3 trades I'm in. The reasons why I got in, all of them always meet the same criteria. First, you see divergence going against the trend you want to take. Then you look at it breaking either support and resistance, depending if it's going up or down. And then when it retests that area, you look at taking the trade in your direction. And you're looking for wave patterns. And exiting the trade is always based on wave patterns. So if I see some divergence occurring on lower time frames, I'm going to be moving my stop losses to break even, or exiting the trade if it's matching up with horizontal support and resistance areas. So hopefully these trades are successful. Either way, I'm in and out, and I don't adjust my stop losses. I just watch the take profit areas. I wish you all the best in your success. Take care. Bye-bye.